Welcome to the Patel Perspective podcast. I'm your host, Harsh Patel. I obtained a bachelor's degree in neuroscience and minors in biology and biochemistry. Through that education, this podcast allows me to deliver proper health, science, and self-improvement information to the people around the world. If you have liked any of my podcast episodes, and if you would like to show support, the only way to do so is by subscribing to my YouTube channel and by following the social media platforms of the guests you have liked. You don't really want to miss out on the highly intellectually stimulating conversations we'll be having in our future episodes. Today's guest is Venerable Tri Dao. Venerable is a Buddhist monk. He has been a monk for about 8 years now and has successfully spread his teachings, learnings, and Buddhist message to the people around the world using the world of social media. He also runs a program called Rapid Realization Program where he hopes to mitigate teen suicide rates by providing them a combination of Buddhism and psychotherapy approaches. His work is really valuable to the community around him. We had an awesome conversation ranging from the fears of AI and how to adapt in this fast-changing virtual world. I also learned about the Buddhist teachings and how to practice meditation in today's world. You really don't want to miss this conversation. It's an epic one. And now, my conversation with the Venerable Tri Dao. Thank you for joining us today, Venerable Tri Dao. Is that how you say it? Your name?
Yes, Venerable Tri Dao. Tri Dao.
Tri Dao. Okay. What makes you fearful about the future?
Well, I think concurring with all of our previous philosophers, including Christ, Buddha, and all of the Western philosophers and Eastern philosophers, is know thyself, right? And I believe that people are drawn further and further away from themselves, have looking outward for happiness. And with the existence of AI, artificial intelligence, it's becoming a more scarier threat towards humanity because it can make decisions on its own, and it can and it will manipulate us based on algorithms. It's learning us every time when you use all sorts of media and or chat GPT, for example, Siri on Apple's, it is learning and gathering information about you. It knows you more than you know yourself. And so they're going to hack you. They're going to hack humans. We already have humans that hack humans. Simple. You just visit your local bar and you see John sitting there going through a divorce or a breakup, and how easily another chick can come and manipulate him to go home with her. Nonetheless, AI, who is intelligent and more intelligent by the days, and it becomes more powerful and could be potentially manipulative down the road. I also want to recognize the benefits of AI. I'm not here to bash AI all day, every day, but it's the growing concerns about how people getting to know themselves and how to reel themselves back in preparation for a big change coming in the near foreseeable year, the change in jobs, occupation, and how our economy will progress forward and how that relates to human happiness.
Yeah. So when you mentioned how jobs are going to change, I know you're probably more into this than me because I really haven't really gotten the chance to like really dig deeper into this, like how AIs are going to take over the job. Like, how do you think is AI going to take over in the next, let's say, 10 years? And how would that affect our mental state?
Well, my preliminary research so far, haven't dived deep into it to go into specific details, but I did ask a doctor, because that was one thing that AI could potentially replace is doctors in regards to diagnostics, how it can be really good, quite impeccable in diagnostic because it has so much data about people's heart rates, lab results, um, and how it could take over a doctor's job. So I sat with Dr. Lay in internal medicine here, and I asked him, "Are you afraid you might not have a job one day?" And he says, "No." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, first and foremost, even if we have all the things to convince the patient is still not convinced. So I, the doctor, have to sit there and spend time with them and explain to them why this medicine is good for them, why they should exercise, why they should eat right, and so on. And he says, "Hey, I can't do that." And we had a big laugh about it. So I think the human connection is what he was trying to get at, and AI is going to be a little bit further away from that. The agricultural industry, AI, anything that is of machinery, of organization, of shipping, packaging, I see that coming first. I would imagine. Again, not an expert on this field. There were talks about AI potentially replacing therapists and interpreters. I'm not sure about the therapist part too, because
Yeah.
people are quite elusive when it comes to disclosing facts about themselves and their histories. So, and then interpreters' jobs, and then we've already seen Google Translate. I am a former interpreter serving all areas of law and medicine. I kind of question how that's going to work also. There's a lot of questions that I have about how it's going to replace my job as an interpreter, because there are people from certain regions and certain dialects. Even I have problem understanding them. Nonetheless, a machine gathering hundreds and thousands of dialects and trying to um, make sense of what coherent of what people are
Mm-hmm.
saying. Um, but I think I would invite everyone to look up the top 10 jobs that AI could potentially replace. But the most philosophical question at hand is, do people know how to change with it and as it comes,
Right.
as it will create tremendous, intense stress for everyone? And how do we know this, and how can we examine this scientifically? Well, just look at the way how your last breakup was, and how much slow to change a human is. How we try to gather what happened, how lost we felt, a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, very somewhat similar, because it's a loss of one's identity.
Mm-hmm.
Work and occupation as one's identity, identifying, this is who I am, this is what I do. Matter of fact, when you ask people, what do you do for a living, they typically tell you their job and not what they love doing, doing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you have to pay close attention to that. I always find a kick out. He's like accountant. So you like working with numbers, huh? Law. Also, you like advocating for people. Medicine. You like to heal. When people forget to make sense of what's going on in their life, what gives rise meaning and purpose in their life. And these are some of the concerns. We already have very high suicide rates. Before COVID, long before COVID, the suicide rates were very high amongst adolescents, anywhere from 15 years old to 25 years old. And then even before that, I remember reading research about young adults dying because of accumulated despair. And it is exactly that we have to examine closely, how much despair it is going to cause humans as we are transitioning. The transition rate is quite at an unprecedented speed. We are releasing AI without a lot of proper safety nets and guardrails. So a lot of our scholars have questioned and tried to implement, or the idea of implementing guardrails for AIs. A lot of our scholars, like Professor Harari, Yuval Noah Harari, have said, before releasing a drug in the United States, has to go through FDA approval, and typically a drug has to be investigated and researched for at least 10 years, from what I know, before it is available, made safe to the general statistical population. However, one must question, how safe is AI and its effects on humans? We already know, ever since Facebook came out and social media came out, the bullying, the cyberbullying that went on, and a lot of kids committed suicide because of cyberbullying, lack of cyber policing from parents, lack of policing aspects from the social media site itself, from, for example, Reddit, um, Facebook, Instagram, fail to keep these people safe, fail to filter out certain hate speech and words and vocabularies that is so sharp to the heart. So these are some of the things that humans are very sensitive, and these developers, I don't think that they just want to release these things without considering how sensitive and more sensitive humans are becoming each day.
Right.
But I hope that answers that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of my questions that just popped up is, do you think not knowing yourself well is a symptom of depression, anxiety, addiction? Do you think that's the case?
I think that is the consequences of not knowing yourself, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths. When we know ourselves and understand our thoughts and feelings and actions, we're less likely to take foolish choices that we have seen. The primary cause of not wanting to know oneself is, well, number one, people people don't probably know how to deep dig within, to sit with the silent, to ask themselves, who am I? Why do I get angry? Why have I been feeling this way? Why do I grow up with angry parents or certain siblings? Why do I behave this way? Why do I scream? Why do I yell? Why do I get sad so easily? Why do I recycle the past? Why am I so anxious about the future? And to investigate that, in Theravada Buddhism, we trace the link of influence, also known as the practice of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. And so you gotta like go back as young as you can remember, growing up, and with whom you grew up with, and to ask, what did I see? What did I observe? What did I experience? What did I witness? Now, children are like tape recorders growing up. They just see things and gather information, download all of this information, and that becomes a good source of the software that they operate on. And so, not knowing oneself, we're easily vulnerable to other humans getting underneath our skin, pressing our buttons so that we react in an angry way or get sad and depressed. And we do foolish things as a result of not knowing oneself.
Yeah. One of the things that I could remember from my childhood, as I was thinking when you were telling us what influenced you in your childhood, one of the things that I really struggled with growing up was porn addiction. And when I became an adult and I just sat down with myself and asked, like, why did I need porn? And the answer I came up with was, I did not have any attention because I grew up fatherless and my mom would work all day. And during the summers, that's when generally I would rely on porn to like feel validated somehow. And I think one of my major scares is along this AI is the use of AI porn and the use of AI in terms of fulfilling sexual needs. And that's what I'm really scared about, because that's just going on the path of loneliness. And as you mentioned, how AI just takes out emotions of the equation. So there's no connection, human connection, like you said, with the doctor that you talked with. We need emotions. We need human connection through emotions. And I don't think AI could really bring that. And also, I just read this somewhere or listened to it in one of my podcasts where even if AI, let's say you have an AI girlfriend, right? Even if you are fulfilling that sexual need, your body is not really craving sexual need in the first place, is actually craving emotional need first. but biologically your body's kind of not looking at the emotional need, it's just going for that sexual desire. But it's masked by the need for emotions. So that's what I learned. So
Hmm.
definitely very interesting.
Right. So porn addiction is very prevalent in our society. Mind you, the study of anthropology and history and psychology of humans is that, way back in the days, millions of years ago, we didn't have clothes. So it's no wonder, fast forward to the 21st century, now we have clothes on and we're like, what? I'm just wondering what she's got underneath them skirts. To keep it really to keep it really real, right?
Yeah.
I would hope to strike everyone as a realistic monk. Um, and so we have these appropriate curiosities in order to mate. I mean, that's what we did. We hunt, gathered, and we procreated with a lot of people a lot of times of the day. So of course you're going to need to fantasize about what our mate would look like and how it would feel and everything else. But porn addiction, as you said, is an example, is a primary example to ask ourselves, wow, the effects of porn and what did it do to me? And as I watch it, do I become a better person or do I become sicker and sicker? And I have all sorts of fantasies that is left unfulfilled. And then my views of
Right.
males or females change. And as a result, it could be down the road that I start to make males and females sex objects instead of to see the human as they are or the qualities of a human. So again, that's one thing about not utilizing when people don't utilize their wisdom and their intelligence to investigate why do I have certain urges. And some of our meditations aim to help people do that, to investigate their urges and desires.
Wow. So how about you tell us like how in the Buddhist perspective or your perspective, how do you manage or adapt to this new changing world where there's abundance of everything? There's abundance of AI, abundance of actually every need could be fulfilled. How do you adapt in that world?
The Buddha taught the three marks of existence in life, whereas in life, these you're going to have impermanence, you're going to have change, and number three is rarely are they under your control, which is anicca, dukkha, and anatta. When you look at the way how monks live their life, for example, all of our basic needs are met, and that's all we really need. We don't want anything extra thereafter. We have three pair of ropes, we have a baking bowl, and we beg for food, and people put food in the bowl, and we eat it, and we sit and meditate, find our faults, and start fixing our faults since we were conditioned in the past. So it's like quite of a simple life, and a modern day human needs to ask, wow, how can I simplify my life? And we have become more intricate and more complicated as the mind gradually evolved. It's like, hey, I can go to Best Buy right now and get a robotic robot that cleans my house for me. And it runs around and it vacuums the house, and I don't have to do anything but sit here and play video games. Or, in the previous example, watch porn. So, um, and it's like, okay, well, look at a monk. What, they don't have robots cleaning for them. They actually run around the monastery, actually walk, not run, but we sweep, and that's our enlightenment. We are tapping into nirvana as we are sweeping. Peace with every step, peace with every time when we're sweeping. It's literally we're in the moment and we're not thinking about the past or the future. No one ever stopped to analyze why do monks look so peaceful when they're just simply sweeping. Well, those monks that you're seeing, they're literally in nirvana. They're actually experiencing nirvana in those moments of sweeping. They're so at peace. Simplicity with the wind that's blowing through, with the green grass, with the smell of the air, everything. They're holding everything in, all of their senses to experience things as they are. So again, the modern day human has to It's like our phones. Just look at our phones, right? It's like, wow. First, we came out with a phone. It was cellular. Then we put a camera in the phone. That becomes a camera and a phone. Then the existence of the internet in the phone. So now it becomes this complicated thing. And then now we're addicted to our phones. Now we go out and we eat, and there's no quality of interaction when we're eating or socializing. Everyone is doing this. Uh, so
Yeah.
how is that quality of life, and how does that bring you closer to your friends and family?
Yeah, that's totally true. I was really addicted to like phones. I still am, like, I'm not gonna say I'm still am, because like this is my, I kind of treat this as my job, because I just like doing all these things, but then you also don't know where to draw the line, if it's the screen addiction or is actually working.
Yeah.
But that's that. So when you can you elaborate more on nirvana? Like you said, nirvana is just feeling and experiencing the present moment. Is that really it, or is that more to it? Because when I
There's
learned about
more.
nirvana in my religious, I took a religions of the world class, where Buddhism was one of my favorite topics, because it's just a philosophical perspective and a philosophical way to live life without any religious constraints. And so I just want you to like elaborate more on like nirvana.
So that was the simple, fast and quick answer that I give. So there's two types of nirvana. So the first one is in the present moment. If you're not thinking about the past or the future, that is your enlightenment. That is nirvana, free from disturbing emotions. Right? That's why when you like go rock climbing or you're playing sports, you're just like in the flow of the sports. Football, trying to like catch the ball, playing tennis, any sports that you're into, just pay close attention that when you're playing that you're with the flow, you've lost track of time. You're on Nirvana's time. So you're really into it and you're having fun and you're smiling, you're laughing. Nothing matters. Bills got to be paid, does not cross your mind. Your recent breakups or past breakups doesn't bother you in these moments of, this baseball flying at 200 miles an hour. The other complicated definition of nirvana, also known as enlightenment, is the eradication and extinguishment of greed, anger, and ignorance. Greed, anger, and ignorance, which is why we monks spend the rest of our life trying to eradicate and extinguish the three poisons in Buddhism. And when we look around every day, we see the existence of greed. Now, people will kill for $5. We've seen that. We've seen the proliferation of anger, how angry people get when someone cuts them off in traffic. And they did not think alternatively that this person is probably trying to use the bathroom or going to see his wife who's going to give birth in 5 minutes. And they actually jump to conclusions and they actually think that, wow, you're trying to take my lane. You're trying to hit my car. No, no, Tom, he was not. He probably didn't even see you. And in Buddhism, if they want the lane, just give it to them. It's a lane, and if you actually understand the definition of a lane, is something that we made up. It's fictional. We made up these lines, put rules about these lines, and then people took those rules a little bit too seriously. Um, so we can see the proliferation of anger in that aspect, and many examples out there. You just got to turn on the news, and you'll see the amount of anger that people's got across the world and our nation. And then there's ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the Four Noble Truths that the Buddha have taught for the past 2,566 years. And when we see suffering in ourselves and other people, we tend to make more wiser choices, more kindful choices, and thus seeing sometimes immediate happiness because of the practice of kindfulness and generosity. Being generous to open the door, being generous to say nice things for people, some of the easiest and free ways of accessing instant happiness and memories, and tap into nirvana and close enough to it to see that you've made another human smile today, because we never know what they're struggling with. But so that is the two definitions that I give when it comes to what is nirvana and how to achieve it.
Yeah. So how about we just like deconstruct the Four Noble Truths, because really philosophical. Like I always think about this. And so the first one would be dukkha, right? Dukkha, and
Yes,
that would be mean suffering, like enforced suffering, or accepting that there will be suffering.
yes. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering in life, the existence of suffering in life. And we see that birth, old age, decay, disease, um, getting something that you don't want, like a flat tire is suffering, wanting something and not getting it, like the next PS6, since there's a PS5 PlayStation out there, not getting the, 80-inch TV, not getting what you want is suffering. When we analyze and sit with the suffering, we see clearly every day we experience low back pain, our mood changes, we're thirsty for water right now. Our vape is running out of battery. Gotta go get another vape. Um, want a better girlfriend, want a bigger house, want a faster car. So, it's like all sorts of suffering that we can observe. Now, people tend to push this away very quickly, subconsciously and unconsciously. Anything that has to do with suffering, they don't want to see it, don't want to feel it, and don't want to think about it. And this is why people can't bear to see homeless people or people who are sick and dying in front of them, because it reminds them of, wow, this is going to be me one day, you know. And then we're moving on to the second noble truth is you suffer because you desire. Um, I
Mm.
make it fun for young people by saying, um, the first noble truth is number one, life sucks. Number two, life sucks because you want stuff. Uh, so when again, we want a better phone, we want a faster phone, a faster laptop, bigger TV, want, I don't know, two wives instead of one. Um, yeah, that's common in a lot of cultures. My culture being one of them, Vietnam, Vietnamese.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, people just want more pleasures. We are pleasure seeking um, Homo sapiens, animals, right? We're animals, just like the rest of the other animals. We just have the ability to think um, wiser and more intelligent. So when we analyze and a lot of people also crave status, they also desire status, and that causes a lot of war, a lot of contentions when they are um, at work. They want a promotion, they want to get the other guy to quit their job, or how am I going to win this position of status?
Mhm.
A lot of people go great lengths to get their master's degree and PhDs. Again, desire causes suffering. To what extent will you act on this desire? Is how I challenge people to question their motive. Number three, the third noble truth is if you don't want life to suck, stop wanting things. And that is the eradication, the intelligence and wisdom to know, well, yeah, I think my want and desire has gone to the extreme length. And maybe I should readjust how I'm doing this. And so when a person does that, they realize I'm closer to nirvana, and I want to achieve nirvana. I want more nibbanic moments, versus the pain and suffering that I'm feeling now. So then the next question for that human would be, well, how do I get there? Well, what are the steps towards nirvana, and the middle way? In totality, Buddhism is about the middle way, not too extreme of something and not too lazy of that thing. Not staying in bed and not working and wallowing in sadness and depression. And the extreme, which is, people would kill to if they didn't get what they want. If I can't have her, I'm going to take extreme measures, stalking people and all these other things. So then we move on to the fourth noble truth, which is the path to liberation is by following the noble eightfold path. And there are 8 steps, and anyone can Google this. Starts with right view, right understanding, right action, right intention, right livelihood, right mindfulness. And when you analyze each of those steps, you realize now we have a checklist each day. How do I cultivate right view, seeing things as they are, and to study the Four Noble Truths and to see suffering clearly, how I contribute suffering to myself and other people directly or indirectly? How can I be more mindful and skillful at utilizing my speech to relate to others and bring peace to others and to cooperate effectively where I work or who I'm with? So it's pretty awesome. In Buddhism, we have a lot of checklists for a human to go through and realize, wow, this cannot be a lazy life. If one wants true inner peace, freedom, and liberation, one has to put in the fourth human effort to get to nirvana or as close to it, and more peaceful moments and more peaceful memories in one's life versus the lazy life. Lazy life is easy. Just buy a couch and a TV and just watch how your health changes and just watch how your body changes. And that's that. So in Buddhism, we assert a good life equals a good death. And if you live it skillfully, you will get there happily without fearful of death.
Very enlightening. It's the first noble truth, the fact that we have to accept struggle. It just really touching for me right now in my position because I have applied to like 25 PA schools and it's so hard to get in. I have done everything in my control to be very competitive. And the fact that I cannot even get an acceptance so far, it's like I want it, but then there's a struggle there. Like I want it too bad. And like me struggling in that way from day to day life is just not the best thing for me. So I just focus on having these conversations and just learning more about all these truths and like the philosophy just calms like me down. So I'm really glad that you shared the philosophy of all this.
Also remember that in life, I have a friend that also struggled to get in nursing school. Nursing and anything in medicine right now is very competitive.
Yeah.
And it's very comforting, the philosophy of the Buddha, because he said, sometimes not getting what you really want could be a stroke of good luck.
Oh man.
And if you think about it, when I was younger, I wanted to be a cop. And I went great lengths, went to the academy, Manatee Technical Institute, and went to Florida Highway Patrol. And eventually they were like, wow, you want to give people speeding tickets, but you have 3 pages yourself. How about you try back in 3 years? So the door was closed for that career. So I took that time to go to Akron College. And, now thinking about it, wow, I was probably not suitable to be a cop back then because I was just this hothead. I was really angry, young and angry. And that would probably not end up well with that career because you need a lot of patience with people.
Yeah.
Though I wanted to help our community and stop, people from speeding through our neighborhoods, it was I that was still speeding. Still have yet to learn my own lessons nonetheless. And yeah, and again, karma was probably trying to protect me too. It's like, yeah, we have a better, bigger agenda for you than just this $40,000 a year job. Perhaps you should be a monk and inspire millions of people so that they would stop killing each other, and that would probably have a more impactful um, effect than trying to catch speeders in the neighborhood. So things might unfold. Just watch how it unfolds. And sometimes when you look back 5 years from now, a couple years from now, you see that, wow, the universe, God, perhaps may have a bigger agenda for me than what I want for myself right now.
That's pretty inspiring, and also similar to Hinduism and how I've been brought up and how my interactions have been with my religious community. And it's just so similar to how this philosophy is extremely similar. And like, it's for a young blood like me who gets maybe angry every day about and resentful about my situation. I kind of have to like sit back and really calm myself down and remind myself that maybe there's something better coming up. And maybe I'm focusing on the wrong thing. Like, it does not matter what school I go to. Like, my desire was to be in Florida. My desire was to like I applied to like eight, seven, like I think seven Florida schools this year, and none of them have gotten back to me yet. But like, there's this so much desire for me to like leave Pennsylvania. That's where I'm currently at because I want warm weather. But like, there's so much desire, and that desire is creating so much resentment. And so I have to like kind of sit back, calm myself down, and I cannot even meditate regularly like I used to before because there's so much in my head that's going on with the present or with the past, future. And so, what would you advise young people on meditation? What is the minimum effective dose of meditation that could help a young blood to overcome today's challenges in terms of career, finances, relationships?
Mm. The benefits of meditation, anyone can Google benefits of meditation on Google and
It's a
see
list.
from the tremendous and enormous health benefits, lowering blood pressure, heart rate, you live longer, you're happier, more focused, helps with ADHD,
Right.
quality of life. And also, I would invite everyone to, um, I would hope that you all trust the teacher and trust the process. The Theravadan order has been around 2,566 years ago. Meditation worked for us, or else I wouldn't be in robes practicing this. And I've been practicing meditation for more than 20 years now. And so we want to meditate twice a day.
Why is that?
Before leaving the house,
Mm-hmm.
you want to set your intentions. You want to clear your mind from any residue from the previous day or that morning. Sometimes people wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you don't want to leave the house right away because you're going to carry that emotion and intention with you. So we want to clear our mind. We want somewhat of a blank slate that, the Buddha taught the cycle of birth and death, birth of a thought, death of a thought, birth of an emotion, death of an emotion. And right now I have choice to clear everything right now and start a new day, a new life. Literally, you can start a new day, a new life that morning. And when you clear your head, just focusing on the breath and meditate on the Four Noble Truths, meditate on the three marks of existence, then you realize how grateful I am to have opened my eyes this morning, right? Because if you look at the first noble truth, old age, decay, disease, look at the disease part. How many people woke up this morning and did not get to open their eyes and lost their eyesight this morning? How many people overnight suffered a stroke or an aneurysm? No one ever stopped to think about old age, decay, and disease in first noble truth. Uh, and so they totally missed the point. So when you wake up and you have eyes, ears, nose, everything's working. Wow, holy, maybe a little bit of back pain, but it's okay. I can work with that. Setting our intentions for the day and realize, all right, this is what I got to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And if you put a checklist, then you're better prepared in one day versus anxious anxiety. Oh, I don't know what to do first. Should I get gas first or later at night? How's the weather? All that can be compiled in, organizational skills. But by meditating on the breath, the whole body is calm. You slow down your thoughts. There's more clarity. So therefore, you make better informed choices when your mind is calmer and it is more clear than your typical every other day. It is difficult practicing meditation because before people are listening to this podcast or even before discovering meditation, everyone's been on the hamster wheel. So then you hear my voice and you realize, oh, well, this monk had done told me that I should use 5 minutes in the morning and focus on my breathing so I have a clearer mind, and then they practice it. But with determination and willpower, you can fight through it. It's only a couple minutes. Start off with 2 minutes and then gradually increase. Now you also want to meditate at the end of the day to let go of negative acquired emotions and negative acquired bad habits that could happen during the duration of the day. You're going to meet people, things are going to be said, people are going to tick you off. Some things are not going to go your way. Maybe your boss don't have coffee, so they, act a fool. And so, we sit and we meditate and we have compassion for them and we realize, focusing on my breath, I have compassion for other beings. And again, reflecting on the Four Noble Truths, and you see that they too suffer the way that we did. So what's the point of hanging on to anger? We're only burning ourselves. So these are my general recommendations for humans who are new to meditations. But just a couple minutes, and you'll see slowly, if you keep track by keeping a journal, you'll see that your sleep improves, your focus improves, and your mood subsequently will improve through time.
Right. So morning and night, couple minutes at start, and then gradually, obviously, you increase. I used to do 5 minutes of breath work every morning. So are there any other types? So I was just like doing breath work, like nothing, no, like maybe realizing my emotions or like letting go of stuff, but just breath work. So do you have any other types of meditations that you do in Buddhism or?
So these are called mindfulness of the breath,
Okay.
anapanasati. Anyone can put mindfulness of the breath on Google and it will come out. We also practice vipassana, which is insight meditation, to see the three marks of existence that I described earlier, and the four foundations of mindfulness that is incorporated in vipassana meditation. There's also the four protective meditation functions found in the path of purification. So when you guys put this in Google, you guys realize, oh wow, or in Google or YouTube by Bhikkhu Bodhi, who explains it, you realize that wow, there's different type of meditation aimed to treat certain human conditions. That like there's meditation on death, which emphasizes time. So if we're lazy and we're not doing what needs to be done, practice what needs to be practiced, or we have a lot of anger, death, meditation on death, when will I die? How will I die? Where will I die? Usually shakes people up and they realize, whoa, every breath I take, I'm one breath closer to death. With the billions and billions of breaths that we will take in our lifetime, I'm one more closer to, hitting 6 feet under. So maybe I should start forgiving today. Maybe I should start forgiving and ask for forgiveness rather than delaying precious time. And one day I may not have that time, and I may die regretfully. Who wants to bring that memory with them 6 feet under? There is the meditation on the 32 parts of the body, 32parts.com. For people who are addicted to porn, for example, as we mentioned earlier, or even vaping or cigarettes or sex, what we find attractive with that object, we can find the unattractive nature of it. So let's say I'm attracted to a really hot chick, a baddie, 10 out of a 10 scale, cute face, little waist with a big behind. Okay, all right, this is the language of the people of the modern days, of the Gen Zoomers. So, all right, Venable's got this thing for this girl. Okay, well, how does he keep himself from acting a fool with this gal? So I would meditate on the 32 parts of the body, hair for hair. So if I start focusing on her hair, I see its chemical construction of the hair. If she doesn't wash it, then it smells. Or skin too. I can focus on her skin. Oh wow, she really has tight skin. It's look like dolphin skin. Yeah, well, how long is that gonna last? Eventually, old age, death, decay, and disease will set in. So but pretty much my mind look at a human body like it's a bag of trash. Pretty much the 32 parts of the body. So therefore, it diminishes my desire for that human instantly. Like when I sit on a city bus, I actually sit and I look at all around me these people, and all I see is actually skeletons and bones. I don't see their face. I don't see their black, white, Puerto Rican, Chinese. I don't know if they are, but all I see is bones. So that I have instant compassion for each individual. I don't judge when I sit on a city bus. I don't go, oh, he's poor, he's rich, or he's black, he's white. I realize, wow, they're all deaths impending. These humans are just trying to get by in life. So these type of different meditation functions aims to protect you in life from the bows and arrows of greed and anger that will come through your mind. And it comes through your mind by what you see on TV and what your coworkers tell you and what your foolish friends tell you. They try to poison your mind with, hey, you should judge, you should, not have compassion for people. And here I am telling everyone, you should have compassion for people. And we have a method for you to cultivate and develop that so that you become the most beautiful human the world has ever seen. And thus, if you become beautiful and kind, you will attract everything else. You will attract the love of your life and you will get, what the universe will throw at you. So good karma.
I definitely agree with this part because I think compassion is a skill that you have to develop because those people on the internet will tell you like males should not be compassionate at all, like they shouldn't show emotions, etc., etc. But in my experience, in my career, like I need compassion. If I want to be a PA, and even when I was a nursing assistant, I needed compassion to really listen to people instead of doing my task, clock in, clock out, and go home. I needed compassion to feel what they were feeling. I also needed compassion to just put myself in their body, in their shoes, because I'm young. Like obviously, I'm not gonna have health problems, but like if I develop that compassion right now, it will just improve any patient's quality of life because that's that emotional component we were talking about, that human connection that everyone seeks. And so compassion, greatest skill. And also second, like this is in terms of relationships. I love compassion because it allows you to accept other people and who they are instead of, for example, saying, oh, my girlfriend's X characteristic, I don't like that. Or I don't like her this. Or saying, maybe I had like a better mom. Maybe my mom was more understanding. So just having compassion has really helped me a lot. And I think I this is what I'm trying to aim. This is also what I'm trying to work on right now, like building compassion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe our next talk, maybe we emphasize the power of compassion. I think people overlook that, loving kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
I talk to so many people, and their intelligent mind always try to fool me and say, "Yeah, I see loving kindness every day, or I practice it every day." But what does it actually mean to practice it? What does it actually mean to have compassion for people? can you actually look past their behavior and into the person?
Right.
In the face of judgment, in the face of this was a killer, this was a rapist, this was an atrocious man or a woman. Can we actually see past their behavior and into them, and how much do we know about them? So I mean, our whole life is learning about pretty much humans, and that's psychology. Because we need humans to survive, no matter how much we don't like them, dislike them, or even hate them. We're gonna need humans to survive, and we need to band together in unity, cohesive group to get past this AI thing. And we have to advocate for our own human species. And with that comes, with humans cohabitating with us, we have to skillfully know how to understand them and move skillfully together all in one generation.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Um, so what does your day-to-day life look like, and how do you practice? I just want to get a glimpse of your day so that whatever you teach online and whatever you say on this podcast, I want to see how it resonates with you, and also it will be worthwhile to see, or worthwhile to find out why you became a monk. So it'll be really cool.
So my day now consists of training two other novice monks. One's 47, one is 21. And
Wow.
I'm glad my college degree is in human development, because we study from birth to death. So here we have a 21 and a 47, which is quite of a gap to guide both of them into the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, and how each one of them drive me absolutely crazy, in addition to dozens more monks that I train online. How they don't do their homework, how they're like, oh yeah, a dog ate the homework at the monastery. Just when you heard that in the school, they also tell me that the dog at their monastery in Thailand, also grabbed their homework and ran away with it. So it's ever challenging to find the middle way of also being compassionate, understanding, but at the same time somewhat strict, as consistent with this tradition of the school of the elders, to emphasize that, look, we don't have a lot of time here to around. Y'all need to get as much of the 84,000 teachings as much as possible. So they drive me crazy from time to time, but I love what I do now, entering into my 8th year, and this is the middle of the 8th year, and it'll be 9th year next year. And I became a monk when I hit rock bottom in 2015, when my grandmother and best friend Jacob Hall passed away, and I hit rock bottom. I was very, very suicidal. Wasn't right in the mind. Everything I did was to take steps towards just disappearing, hurting myself. And had I not taken the path to peace, it would not have been pretty. And it's been working out really well so far. And I progressed quite fast on this path. A sheer dedication to study what needs to be known, which we covered most of that here on this podcast today. And I would invite other people, who have been through some tough and hard times, and at the time of this talk, to be curious in Buddhism, to look up the Four Noble Truths, and how you can use it for yourself. Essentially, it teaches you to be your own doctor. And our philosophers have said, if you are not your own doctor, you are a fool. So why not take advantage of all of the resources and the ease of access now than never before? You don't have to go into a monastery to look for a book that is 1,000 years old. You can now even ask ChatGPT, what is the Four Noble Truths, and it would tell you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the best time in our society right now to study the teachings of the Buddha. Access to insight.org or buddhanet.net are great resources to get started. And I hope to inspire other people by through my own change. I wake up, I meditate, I reflect on my intentions on the day. I prepare materials for training and education. I prepare PowerPoints. I go out when society calls on cases, and I come back, I meditate, and I train the monks who are here locally and virtually. And again, humans, they forget. So it's my job to remind myself and to remind them all of the checklists that we Buddhists have in order to live a skillful life and be an example of leadership for other humans.
So how do you stay healthy? Like focus on like how much do you sleep? All these quirky questions, like maybe cringy questions. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to ask right now because it's a great opportunity to have you on the show. So how many hours do you sleep?
I sleep about 8 hours a day,
Oh, okay. That
and
makes me feel
because
good.
which is more than previously during my training. I think I only got like 5 hours sleep. So,
Okay.
but due to the amount of priorities and competing priorities with caseloads and monks and their life and their stress, and it's literally like clinical cases that is on my shoulders. So the time that I need to process skillfully, every student, you have to meet them where they're at. It is no one size fit all, and I constantly have to readjust my teachings and tailored teachings for each student. So that's where the challenge is. It's easy to be a lazy monk. Just be like, here, go read the Four Noble Truths and don't bother me until next week. But each student's level of comprehension and understanding is different. So you have to adjust, and their past trauma, addiction, and abuse, you also have to gauge. And I also do counseling for the general public. So that weighs tremendous weight on my mind. So that the brain needs time to process, and the brain also needs time to declutter, and sleep does that for you. And so the importance of sleep and the science of sleep, one should also research, because the Buddha says the greatest wealth is health. And this body is your vehicle for enlightenment. It gets you from point A to point B. My diet consists of vegetarian. I try to be as vegetarian as I possibly can, but there are times where I do eat meat. I am 36 years old. And so, well, my country, I'm 37. In the US, I'm 36, according to the calendar, the Chinese calendar. But
Interesting.
I pay close attention to what I eat, the amount of salt, the amount of sugar that is in it, according to the food pyramid and according to lab work done by my primary care doctor. It would obviously suck to have diabetes and high blood pressure. To continue, I need to nurture the body to continue serving the people. And I emphasize strongly that everyone should take care of your bodies and not to be too indulgent in sugar, and just watch what you eat, because processed food is not a good thing. Aim for vegetarian, vegan, plant-based, or seafood-based diet would be best. And your doctor can consult with you with that. But I also exercise. I walk a lot. I don't run. If you see a monk running, then you also should run. If you see me in orange running down the street, that means something is going down.
I'm running far away as possible.
But I do like rock climbing. I do play other sports that helps me tap into more nirvanic moments. So rock climbing is pretty awesome. It tends to curb depression for everyone.
Okay.
You can't really think about the past when you need to figure out where your next step is going to be before you fall.
Right.
So
Okay. Gotta
that's a
try
lot of
it.
fun, right?
Yeah.
Walking meditation on a, I don't know, 2x4, 6 feet off the ground, also cultivates patience and mindfulness. Again, 2x4, 6 feet off the ground, you better not fall, because that's going to be a big ouch. So you have no chance but to focus on the present moment of each step in front of walking meditation. But it's a pretty chill life, and I hope to share all of this with all of you, and anyone can call me and or write to me and ask me suggestion and advice to see where their practice is, as I share my life and my transformation for the rest of the world.
Yeah, just so that everyone knows, Venerable is so generous that I contacted him yesterday around 10 a.m., July 18th at 10 a.m. And here we are doing a podcast the next day. This is awesome. This is so quick.
Yeah, the one thing I don't get about other humans is like, oh, you need to go through my assistant. Oh, I can't make it till like 2 more weeks. And I'm just like, what? It has never been like that with me, ever. I
Yeah.
have never scheduled anything out like past 5 days. I think there's only one podcast I never got to. And it's just, I don't know, maybe karma doesn't want it to happen. But every 99% of podcasts is done within that week or according to their schedule. It's never mine. Because I tell them, your schedule, not me. It's never about me, it's about you. And because of that motto, I hope that it shows an act of all giving and a selfless act for humanity. In a world, especially in the United States, where everyone's all about me, right? Me, mine, I, my time.
Right. No, you're so right about that. I hope to take this value along with me. I don't have an assistant, and I nor do I want to have one. But it's just because I really enjoy, like, I find nirvana in doing everything that I do right now because I have time on my hands. Like if I'm making a YouTube video or making or researching on a very heavy science based video, like I get into this nirvana state. I think I kind of associate nirvana state like a flow state where you're just zoned in the present moment. And so right now for me that is because I finished my undergrad, so that's just like spreading all the good information that I acquire from different people, different books, podcasts, and so that's my nirvana right now. And so I'm glad you mentioned the giving part because giving is just everything that we could do in the most selfless way, and it shows our most selfless self. So I'm really glad about that. Yeah.
I think you do just fine as a PA. I think Florida's getting expensive, and according to causes and conditions of karma, it may be trying to save you money. So maybe to hold it down somewhere where they need more PAs than Florida, perhaps. I don't know. It's weird with admissions in colleges, but I think you do just fine, and eventually things will fall into place, just like for the rest of us. I mean, I have traveling plans, but that's not a possibility now. And again, just putting our faith into our Lord and our God and our universe, or whoever that could be, Christ, Buddha, Vishnu, Allah, Shiva,
Everyone.
um, everyone, they're all awesome. And when you just focus on what needs to be done, eventually you'll be a graduate, and we need more PAs out there with our aging community emerging.
Yeah, definitely. I love the profession. I love the mission of the whole PA profession because it was created to just deliver healthcare and medical needs in the shortest amount of time. And so that's
Mm.
what I always desired. Never had the desire to get like a doctor in my title. My family pushed a lot for me to go to med school just because like the topic would be like you would get a doctor in your title. And I would always say like I don't care about that. Like I don't never cared about it because it's like not your title, it's like the giving part that always drawn to me. Like as a kid I was always like I was always bullied and faced judgment all the time, and my home life wasn't it was great, but like I wasn't voiced for my opinions. And so now in my adult life, I'm glad that I'm not the opposite. Like an opposite kid would try to bring others' energy down, bring them down, bash people, and it just I'm glad that I'm into like religion, philosophy, and talking to people like yourself so that I could kind of help others have this mindset because I think that's what really, when we're talking about a good life, talking about life at the end. This is what a good life is like growth mindset, bringing people to your point if they want to, and just like being in the present moment, nirvana all the time, or try to be that like all the time. And it's definitely difficult in this today's age. It's finance, as you said, struggles of paying rent, which I did last year. It's definitely hard. So yeah.
But suffering is good. Never forget that suffering is good.
Yeah.
And we need just the right amount of suffering in our life to so that it gives rise to purpose and meaning. Without suffering, life would be boring. If it's too easy, it would be boring. There's no challenges. There were times in my life before becoming a monk where everything was given to me, and I didn't have worries. But then I realized, wow, life also sucks on this other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, well, maybe I need to go back to working and to make sense of everything that's going on. And mind you, in the Catholic, I used to be Catholic. As I'm studying and profiling saints or people who could possibly be saints, some of these, like Father Aloysius Schwartz, and other sisters and priests that were given life-changing diagnosis, and they totally changed their perspective. And some of them even welcomed these life-changing diagnoses by saying, "I want to feel what it's like to be on the cross, just like Christ." And so they will endure the painful, life-changing medical diagnosis and literally ride it out courageously. And I thought I was a wow, because of faith and because of religion and because of philosophy, they were courageous towards the end and made so much meaning and purpose out of their suffering. So if they could do that, knowing that they were going to die, and Father Al also, when he was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, he was diagnosed. I think he was in Korea, and he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go to Mexico and establish another center here for boys and girls, so that they have all of their for poverty for boys and girls to get their needs." And he says, "I'll start this, and the sisters will continue it, and then I'm gonna go see Jesus now." And I was like, "Oh my God, you're in a wheelchair, and you traveled across, and then did all of this." Nonetheless, our bills in our face. So that is a source of inspiration, how other people have suffered greatly and continue their work. That just fuels all of our hearts to continue full speed, in life.
Yeah. What message do you have for, let's say, really young people who have become like rich, young, like even before they hit 30, they're like rich, they have so much money around them. They have the ability to buy sports cars and big houses. So what message do you have for those people?
Once all of your needs and wants and desires have been satisfied, eventually you will realize, wow, I feel empty, truly empty. And this money cannot, in fact, buy me the happiness that I thought it initially would have. When we look at closely all of our celebrities and look at all of the money they have and look at how they committed suicide after all of their riches were obtained, we looked at the drug abuse, the addiction, the trauma, the abuse. One must ask, really? With all this money, you got in trouble with the law. With all this money, you took your life in your bathtub. With all this money, you did drugs and eventually died of that. Like, what? Wow. I mean, the frustration from all of us, right? It's like you could have
Yeah.
used that money for charity. You could have established a hospital for the poor, the dying. You could have done so many things, but they focused inwards, which is my money, my fun, my car, my enjoyment, my pleasures. And we see the end result of it. So anyone that is young and have a lot of money or old and have a lot of money, I know, I don't guess, I know that if there is no heart of generosity, if you don't practice generosity,
Right.
then you're gonna see it unfold the way that it is going to unfold for every single one of you. But when you give, you realize, and you don't even if you don't have money, you can dedicate your body, speech, and mind for the benefit of other people. And when you give, you can rejoice that memory in giving and realizing, wow, other people benefited as a direct result of my gifts or the hospital that I built or the money that went to researching cancer and so on. Um, we've had celebrities in my country. We had this one plastic surgeon, young, like 40 years old, made it dozens of millions of dollars, all in the end to give it back. And she held a microphone during Paris by Night show, and she says, "Yeah, I mean, I made it in life. You can't go any higher than where I'm at with all these millions, and I just want to give back to the community, and so I gave it back." She did. She gave back millions of dollars, and that brought her so much joy and happiness, true joy and inner happiness. So I just want the young people to realize that yes, you too are subject to old age, decay, disease, and death. Sometimes death looms a little faster for young people under 25 years old. And if you have the opportunity, be the change you want to see in the world, and do what you can and change the image of your generation instead of self-centeredness and narcissism to be of courageous and heroic virtue of going out and impacting homelessness, impacting youth, suicides, mental health, advocating for our environment. That right there speaks volume of the generation Zoomers or early or millennials. And together we can in fact change the world one individual at a time. And I have faith in all of you that you all can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the great things that maybe young people could do, like this visualization method, if you are not in a good financial state right now, maybe you want to assess your life and maybe you want to imagine, what would I do if I won like $1 million? Or what would I do if I was successful after 20 years? Like, how would I spend the money? Like, I feel like if you have a plan right now as a young person, I think you can not be the selfish pleasure seeker.
Mm. Yeah, my younger days, I was an interpreter. I didn't make a lot. It was enough. I mean, it was enough. It was comfortable, I would say. But I gave 70% of the money I made to friends that didn't have it, or I bought them things, uh, thrift stores. I would volunteer here and there. I gave back so much. And then when it's time for me to suffer, and all my students watch me suffer, and I said, pay really close attention, and during these tough times, watch how I not suffer long because of the unshakable faith and confidence in the workings of the law of cause and effect, which is karma. And won't be known, over the past 2 years, we've been struggling in our own programs, and karma has eyes and ears, and it jumps in whenever I need it most for us to continue our life-saving programs. So again, all this is subject to everyone testing your own karma and see how it works for you, because I know it works.
Yeah. So is that your current project? What's the project you're working on?
It's catering to youth, troubled youths, youth suicides, teen
Okay.
suicides, and increasing student resiliency. It is the incorporation of cognitive behavioral therapy and Buddhism together to curb the suicide and to help them be resilient in school so that they don't drop out. We had very large, high number of dropouts, and we have a lot of students out there who are, post COVID. And before COVID, they were suicidal, and then post COVID, it got worse. So we're just trying the best that we can amongst many other programs out there and many other nonprofits out there who are trying the best they can to make a dent in the world.
So tell me more about that program. Like what's the combination of the current CBT and Buddhism look like in a program like yours?
So I meet the student where they're at in life. They pick up the phone, they call me, and they tell me about what's going on. And that is, what's going on in the family, what's going on at home, work, school balance. And once I identify that it rises to the level of clinical concerns, I put them through the cognitive behavioral therapy program. I also see if they have health insurance, whether they can actually see a clinician, a LCSW, HC, MD, a psychologist, a PsyD, to see if we can coordinate care. Obviously, if it rises to clinical attention, they need to seek professional help first. But when all options is exhausted or the student is well founded to be of poverty, they cannot afford therapy, then we issue them the cognitive behavioral therapy. It's equivalent to 10th, 11th grade reading level. I would say from ninth to the high school level book that they can read to make sense of their emotions, of their thoughts, how their thoughts have them into believing this story, how they jump to conclusion without evidence, and how they blow things out of proportion. These are the things accumulated over time leads to despair and leads to suicides because they think that they can't get out of their perpetual problem that they have created for themselves. Once they have passed the CBT program, then we can introduce meditations and everything else. You can't meditate if you have active suffering. So I assert that before meditation, let's get through the cognitive behavior therapy so that you understand more about your mind, how it's tripping, how it's being very mean to you every day, especially when you are alone with your thoughts, not knowing how to take care of one's thoughts when
Mm-hmm.
one is alone. And then we move into Buddhism. And all of this can happen within 6 months. The program is meant to be a short term, but sometimes it can stretch a little longer. I've had projects like Project Julius, Project Stephen, who stretched out a couple of years. But to watch them grow, prosper, smiling and growing, and obtaining jobs out there at 19 years old, 18 years old. Julius is 21, making $75,000 a year as IT security. That's indestructible joy in my heart to see them grow to fruition and as expected.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The work that you do is something that we need a lot. When I was a pre-med and when I had hopes of becoming a doctor, not that I can't do it while being a PA, I really thought about going back to India for not long term, but like short term and providing free clinical services. I don't know how that will look like, but that's also something that I would do. Not even in India, but here or other countries like Mexico or any other that are like underserved. So I think we need more people to do all this because there's a very high demand and there's not a lot of people who can do this. There's physician shortages and there's a lot of other medical professionals who we need to step up in terms of the services they could provide for free. And so I'm really glad you're doing this. One last question that I really want to ask in this tech savvy age is how do you handle criticism as a monk content creator? I think this is a very important question.
Yeah, so you all can imagine and even consider me as a celebrity Buddhist monk. Some people even call me as the TikTok monk or TikTok 911 monk. I've gotten it all. So when it comes to criticism in one's life, your life and my life, um, the Buddha says that this is part of the 8 worldly winds, where there's pain, there's pleasure, where there is happiness, there is sorrow, where there is fame, there is defame. So yeah, I became this. I never wanted to be a celebrity, and all of a sudden I tried out the TikTok thing, and kaboom, here I am. And years later, of course, you're gonna get all sorts of praise and blame. You getting people calling me, oh, I'm a scam, oh, I'm a fake, oh, I'm all this. And it's just like it just sounds to me. It just sounds.
Yeah.
It's no different than a frog trying to
Yeah.
climb a tree, and people call the frog all sorts of names. You're a loser, you're a frog, you're slimy, you can't make it, you'll never make it to the top. And the frog's like, what? Like, whoa, all I hear is like this really awesome sound. So I'm just gonna keep on crawling up the tree, up to great height. And that's pretty much it. And I teach people how to deal with praise and blame. Even the Dalai Lama this year, with the kid sitting on his lap, and culturally he was playing with the kid. I mean, on live TV, the man's very mindful. Mind you, the man is an actively living Buddha in his tradition of the Vajrayana tradition. So he's very alert, aware, awake. He's not sitting there with dementia and Alzheimer's playing with this child, but they painted this picture like he was a pedophile. And I'm just like, well, I guess the Dalai Lama doesn't exempt from the 8 worldly winds. So what makes me think I exempt from the worldly winds of fame and defame? And hey, it's the world we live in, right? You can't please everybody. There's
No.
also attacks from other traditions, where they says, my God is awesome and your God sucks. And you just have to deal with that too. And you're like, all right, fine. Everyone is good. That's why when I include, when speaking about gods, I include Christ, Allah, Vishnu, everybody in there, because they're all awesome to me. And I lived my life one day that I had to justify to all of them. Imagine they're like a jury panel sitting there, and they're like, Tri Dao, when you were on Earth, what did you do? Because obviously it's either good or bad. Because you didn't take anything with you. You can't. There's no U-Haul behind a hearse. So when you die, you take good things and bad things that you've done with you. So now justify yourself. And every Christmas I go out to the nativity, and I give teachings on morality and ethics. And I said, one day you're gonna have to face Christ, and you're gonna have to face all your gods. So how have you lived your life? And these are defining moments of you. So I try to live my life as blameless as possible, observing 227 rules. And I would imagine I'm the most uniform monk out there in the world. That is, I try to carry my phone with me and share my life as things are progressing. So earlier I said I was training these two monks within my arena. And if you go on my YouTube, you will see that journey. And you will see how things unfold in my life, the struggles, the good times, the bad times. You see it. I don't like hide these things from people, and because it's part of suffering in life. So suffer with me. Suffering is awesome. Suffer with me. And when praise and blame comes, I'm not moved by it. I'm not moved by praise or blame, because the Buddha taught me to cultivate myself as a rock. And as long as everything is within ethical guidelines, moral guidelines, and legal guidelines, we're good. And I've been trained by the Supreme Court in Florida to live a moral life, an ethical life. So I know better. So you do better.
Totally. Totally. I feel like the frog analogy, it's just a great way to just live life regardless of being online, regardless of being a content creator or not, because I feel like even if you like agree on yourself that I don't really care what other people think about me, it takes so much time to actually like deconstruct that, because every behavior you do right now is all dependent on how others will think of me. I think you cannot run away from that. It just takes a long time. And obviously it might be really easy for you because you're in this, you have that worldview of like they're all sounds. But I think for the general people, it'll take a long time, but I think that's why I also started content creating, is that I could face struggles, like hardships, because I have received so many comments, and either I just take those comments and think about it all day, become angry, resentful, or I could do nothing.
Right.
So It's it's
And the one the one thing is, I mean, you got firsthand experience of what it's like to encounter Chi Dao, which is you texted and you got an immediate text back. And I said, sure, I would love to do this. And boom, you sent your calendar, I booked it. So, I think any responsible holy man in the, arena of helping people in the religious order, should, always ask themselves, when questions come, how do you answer them? And how do you justify a righteous, holy life? And like I said, people, they're like, oh, you're scamming people because you have a million followers. And I'm like, well, there's three schools of Buddhism I could choose. This is the only school that cannot ask for anything but a cup of water. I cannot ask you for a dime. I cannot ask you for a car ride. I can only ask for a cup of water. So I state the rules every time when we're doing fundraising and stuff like that. As I state the rules so people know that this is the school I belong to, as it ensures purity and integrity of the teachings of the Buddha, and it is what it is. And then it's like, where do you want to poke holes now? It's like, and I've also, so if people think that I've gotten millions of dollars, just say for fun, I've already also consented to a warrantless search. So I did it publicly. Like no holy man have ever consented to a warrantless search on YouTube. Like federal agents and FBI, all of them are listening. And if you think that I'm fraud, then anyone can call the FBI. And it's like, yeah, so praise and blame. It's funny. I mean, you just watch the world and see how much work we have to do to cultivate loving kindness for all of them, because obviously, our political system and educational system did a number on our humans, our fellow humans. So I'm just an experiment. I'm just this guy in orange, and you get to see praise and blame left to right amongst people who were before me and previous cardinals and priests and everybody else. I mean, once you rise to that magnitude and caliber, you become a target. And it's exactly that. And I mean, I eventually at the end of my life, I'll probably teach a lot of ethics and morality to the next emerging generations of monks, because you got to make an impact in the world and change the world in some way. And as you do that, you become a target. Mahatma Gandhi was a target. Dr. Martin Luther King was a target. And so how do you deal with that criticism and public shaming? You get all that too, the good and the bad of this world. But hey, it's fun in this world. Heaven resides here on this planet. People think Nirvana is another place that you go to after you die. No, heaven or hell, you make it here on this earth. So that's why it's important to live a good life as it results a good death.
very inspiring words, I have to say. I do feel like people are really sensitive in this day and age, but that could be a topic for another discussion. I do feel like we need to have you on again because you are just a knowledge box of and you are very knowledgeable, and we can definitely chat about the compassion skill that others need to cultivate and other skills that you have learned along your journey. It will be worthwhile to have you on back. But yeah, any last messages to our young folks? Anything that we left out that you're really passionate about for our young folks that need it?
I think two things. Every podcast, you people will capture my frame of mind and my state of mind uh, as I grow with all of you, progress and evolve with the rest of you humans. Standing up for all of you, males, females, LGBTQIA plus. Buddhism doesn't discriminate, so it's pretty chill philosophy. And I would invite, if you're listening, you found the right place, and you're curious about yourself, and a good working philosophy, a good working set of instructions on how to live life. We always struggle with the how, right? Someone smack us in the face, and for example, Jesus says to turn the other cheek. But how do I turn the other cheek? How do I have compassion and understanding for my fellow humans? And Buddhism have 84,000 teachings. and all aimed at these little specific hows in life. And my encouragement for all of the young generation Zoomers is that prioritize yourself. Learn yourself before AI learns who you are and manipulate you, and use you for what you can be used for as a human, and get and poke and pry into your private life, and all the little clicks that you're making every day constitutes more information that AI can use, either to benefit us or to harm us. So knowing yourself and heeding the advice of the wise previous philosopher would be the wisest thing you do in this generation. And my two thing that I say now is never tired of giving and never tired of telling other people to give. And that doesn't mean money. That means give your all, your best effort, dedicate your body, speech, and mind for the benefit of other humans every day. Hold the door, say nice things. And the other thing is never tired of forgiving and never tired of asking for forgiveness. Because along the way in life, you will offend other people directly or indirectly, for you know not what you do, for they know not what they do. So forgive often, and your life will become lighter and happier. And again, nirvana is found here on earth. And my job is to help you all make sense of that and how we can create that here on earth. But I appreciate Harsh Patel for having me on this podcast. And it is my blessing for all of you to always be well, be happy, be free, and always be healthy. And utilize your intelligence and wisdom to live the good life, because you have one life to live.
Awesome. Those words just gave me goosebumps. Thank you. Thank you so much, Venerable. I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. This was a very funny conversation, very raw conversation from a monk. We will definitely do a part 2, and I hope you like this one. All of G Dao's links are down below. Please make sure to follow him. And I forgot to mention that I also have put the donation links. So if you're willing, please donate to the cause and the effort to deliver the mental health services that he provides currently. And so thank you for watching this one. I hope to catch you in another podcast or a YouTube video.